because this might be the inner chronicle of what we are, and we have to articulate ourselves, otherwise we would be cows in a field.
Welcome to Cows in the Field. This is a show in which we discuss philosophical themes in popular films. My name is Justin.
I'm Laura.
And today we're discussing Ridley Scott's 1982 film Blade Runner, The Final Cut.
There was an escape from the off-world colonies 2 weeks ago. 6 replicants.
I need you, Dex. I need the old Blade Runner.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
I'm Rachel.
Deckard.
They were designed to copy human beings in every way.
How can it not know what it is?
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
Our
Thank you for
guest,
specifying.
Yeah, you got to specify. Our guest today is Zed Adams. Zed is a professor of philosophy at the New School for Social Research. You heard him here last summer talking Heat. Welcome back to the show, Zed.
Thanks so much for having me.
Guys, so when I was finalizing my notes for this episode, I was glancing at the open tab. I had the Apple, we own this on Apple Film or whatever, Apple TV or whatever it's called. And the description of the movie on Apple begins with the following statement: "The #1 science fiction film of all time!" ! So I thought we'd start there. Zed, where does this film fall for you as a science fiction film?
Oh, well, let's just jump right in. How about it's such a good example of the not born from woman
Yes.
aspect of sci-fi.
Yes.
There's a pretty
Unborn
long
Ex
history.
Machina. We've been covering these.
Yeah.
Come on, Laura.
Okay.
The whole
Okay.
series has been this.
That it is such a theme.
Yes.
I mean, like the desire for technology is the desire to be able to, have children without
With no women involved.
No
How?
uteruses.
Ex Machina lady. Continue. Who else? What? Prometheus is this?
Yeah, exactly. No, go to
Yeah.
the beginning. Let's start with Zeus and then, go from there.
Yeah.
But
Zeus,
So-
yeah, he comes out of the head, right?
yeah. But and that introduces so many of the themes that are great to talk about in the movie, because that central conversation between the leader of the replicants, Roy Batty, and the man who has created him and his fellow replicants,
Yes.
Tyrell, is explicitly a kind of coming home to father,
Yes.
but can you remake me?
Yeah.
You've made me, so that's a theme. But now, can you remake me better? And it's a funny part of the movie that's where we see the limits of technology. That's where biology really has its revenge, because all of the reasons Tyrell gives for why they can't remake Roy Batty and his compatriots are biological reasons. They are kind of natural limitations on what you can do with the biological materials of humanity.
Yep. Laura, where you just as opening statements, we want to come back to the sort of biological confines
Yeah.
in which we're
Where am I
constructed and
for
built.
this as sci-fi?
Yeah, it's sci-fi. I mean, I think sorry, just to go back to this insane statement by Apple,
Uh-huh.
like the #1 science fiction film by no metric is this the #1 science. Like, it's not the best-selling science fiction film of all time.
Well, I'll defend the #1 status.
Yes.
I taught a philosophy technology class to undergrads a year ago, in which I screened Blade Runner, T2, and Her, and they all were central points of conversation, that we kept coming back to. And I thought with the kind of, I thought Her would really be the most important to them in terms of social media pervading their lives and, not being present to the others around them. and there would be a strong contingent of people with the AI is going to take over the world and destroy humanity. And they liked those two, but actually they liked Blade Runner the most, and they thought Blade Runner was the least dated.
That's
that was their characterization of
Very
it.
interesting.
So on that ranking,
Right.
it's some kind of number one.
The kids have spoken.
Yeah.
Well, we just did 2001: A Space Odyssey, which it's hard. I mean, look, this is a great film. Blade Runner, especially Blade Runner: The Final Cut, is a fantastic film. I just think it's hilarious for the description of the film. It's not like in the future, 2019, Roy Batty is a replicant. He's being hunted by Deckard. It's like, no, number one science fiction film.
According to Ridley Scott.
I love it. it. But Laura, so you've seen this movie with me a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And, it's never quite worked for you. Did it work for you this time?
It was no.
We're going to convince Laura.
Okay, good. Yeah, sure.
We're
No, I will come back to. I'm going to keep arguing for the number one status.
I love
Okay.
it.
Yeah. I'm like I love Alien, and that for me, if we're gonna look, and I love the later Prometheus, Ridley Scott thought experiments about that universe, and those are so fun for me. And this one is not fun for me.
Well, here's the thing.
It's interesting, but I don't think it's a lot of fun.
This one's not supposed to be a lot of fun. For
It's
one,
not fun.
but it can nonetheless be good.
It's a big bummer.
Zed, so let's go back to the sort of biological limitations, just to tie it back to what I was just talking about with Laura. I mean, this is an incredibly sad movie. I mean, the if you were to describe the tone of this movie, I would say it'd be something like melancholy or something like that. It's like
sleepy,
despairing. The characters seem to be, I mean, Deckard is an incredibly. He's a character who's almost given up his humanity and has to sort of be rescued or redeemed in his own humanity by these things which are unhuman or inhuman, not human. And then the character of Batty, as you just pointed out, I mean, he spends the entire film trying to get a little bit more life, and he's denied it, and then he just dies, and it's incredibly sad. And I think he's this time watching it, I hadn't seen it in a while. I was so moved by everything that Rutger Hauer's doing as Batty, and I mean, it's just he's such a tragic character.
Okay, let's talk about all the things I disagree with that. This is great.
Whoa, okay.
No, this is awesome. Let's start with the humanity status of the replicants.
Yes.
Because that also gets us to the final cut versus the theatrical cut, distinction, which you hinted at earlier. So famously, there's more than one version of this, and the kind of most important difference between the different versions is that the theatrical cut actually has three differences between both what was called the director's cut and the final cut, which we watched. There's first of all a voiceover. There's a film noir voiceover in the theatrical cut, voiced by Harrison Ford, saying all kinds of film noir detective things, which is helpful for establishing some of the main themes about the question of the humanity of the replicants explicitly, which I think is nice, but it's delivered in this kind of corny way, which is pretty hard to swallow.
Yeah.
The second difference is the ending. Back to the melancholy thing. The theatrical cut has a happy ending. It has this footage repurposed from B-roll shot for The Shining of a kind of bucolic forest, nature. And up until that point, all we've seen is this dystopian LA. And then the third thing is there's the insertion of Deckard having a dream of a unicorn running through the forest, which on the standard reading establishes definitively that Deckard himself is a replicant. And I want to just begin by proposing that the question of whether Deckard is a replicant is kind of orthogonal to the main themes of the movie. And this is a kind of problem I have with the final cut, that it emphasizes that so decisively. Because putting that centrally in terms of the thematic layout of the movie makes it seem like what most threatens Descartes' humanity is something about his ideology, his origin story. Is he a replicant or is he natural born? When in fact, now getting back to one of the things I want to kind of contest in what you were saying, what most, I think, threatens Descartes' humanity is the relationship he chooses to stand in to the replicants. Because I think what the movie is kind of proposing or getting us to think through is a relational conception of what it is to be human. So as opposed to a kind of atomistic conception where we think like, being human is something you can assign to someone individually, one by one, think about a much more Hegelian view of humanity, where it goes through recognition, where here species individuation is done at the level of what kind of relationship do you span into your other conspecifics? And on the full Hegelian understanding of that, it's both that you're only human insofar as I recognize you as human, but I'm only human insofar as I recognize you as human. And that's where Descartes' humanity is threatened on my reading. And then back to the melancholy theme, I agree that it certainly starts in a melancholy mood. And we should talk maybe about what is even Descartes doing at the beginning of the movie? Where is he in life? Because he's pretty young to be retired himself. And we should talk about retirement too in terms of themes. But the point I just want to get to is that he finds his humanity at the end of the movie. So I think we should think that there has been, kind of redemption. And one lesson that he's learned in relation to his own mortality is that you only live it in the present. And so I find that a kind of, put it in terms of ancient philosophy, that's a kind of transformative relation to death to take on that can have a kind of non-melancholy, consequence.
I mean, I think that's right. I mean, I think the film, Descartes' arc in the film, he's the redeemed one. So his arc is positive. Batty's is not, though. And that's, so I was just getting, so I mean, he has a pivotal moment at the end of the film that's very important. But he dies. His goal is not fulfilled. Now, he may in some other way transcend his goal because in the act of forgiveness that he gives to Descartes. I think that's a crucial dimension. But we're jumping to the end of the film here. Do you want to just talk about that now? I mean,
one thing on that, here's a line I want to come back to.
Yeah.
It's what Gaff, the kind of subordinate to the, supervisor in the police station, says, it's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?
Yeah.
The movie's claim about, death is not that our goal should be to somehow escape death, but that our attitude towards our mortality should be one that informs how we live while we're alive. And that's what, Roy Batty, I think, has learned at the end of the movie, that he has, as his creator says, he's, lived a life twice as bright,
right,
but half as long because of that.
Yeah, right. No, that's true. But I think there's still further dimensions of his character that are sad. I mean, he loses his life partner at the hands of Descartes. So, I mean, at the end of the film, his act of not killing Descartes, I think, is an act of forgiveness to his effectively mortal enemy in the film. The person who's murdered his life partner, who he's clearly sad about. He kisses her at her lifeless body and so on. And it's at that moment that he goes on this rampage to try to kill Descartes, chases him around. But it's like, I think to your point, it's when he finally has to confront his mortality, when he can no longer struggle against it, that in that moment of resignation, he doesn't just die, he forgives Descartes. He doesn't take Descartes with him.
I would describe that. I agree, but I would describe it slightly different. I would say the wolf chase scene, let's call it, because it has those awesome wolf owls. He's teaching Descartes how to live.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what Descartes is learning. And
to appreciate life, because
to appreciate the struggle.
Yeah.
Because one of the most awesome moments about that whole sequence is that, at least as I'm watching it, especially the first time, but almost every time, I'm like, where are you going, dude? What's the,
up. I know.
He's just going up.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is, and actually, Roy says, where are you going? But the point is, he's going up. That's all we can do. And that's what ends up, and talk about recognition. That's what ends up gaining Roy's recognition of him.
Yeah.
As someone to take seriously. Cause at first, remember, he, he's completely dismissive. He says, you're shooting at an unarmed man. Aren't you the good man? He kind of mocks him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what Laura hates about the movie. But sorry, before we.
Yeah.
I don't like the character of Deckard. I don't think.
Okay,
I don't
good.
know if it's.
Yeah.
I think he's just a really uninteresting, mopey guy. I don't know. I'm just not compelled by. I don't know if it's because I really struggle with Harrison Ford and the Harrison Ford type. I mean, I think there are some performances that I really like from him, but he does have this sort of default, listen, sweetheart, I know better than everybody. I'm sick of it being here. I'm good at everything, but I'm not happy about being here. I'm, blah. That guy, I don't like that guy very much. And I don't like spending a lot of time with him. And I don't like him treating people, replicants, women badly either. Don't love watching that. So I'm just there's just a lot of time with that guy. But I mean, I will say, one of the things I was trying to, focus in on some things that I think are extraordinary about this movie, which I am very I respect a lot. And comparing it to Alien, a movie I really love, that movie is so much more stripped down. And this one, he has this enormous budget and he's obviously going crazy with lights and ripple effects and reflections. But also it doesn't just feel like it's showy just for show. There's a density to every single shot. There's something interesting, 50 interesting things that are happening in every shot at deeper and deeper and deeper into the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this world has been thought out is so rich and detailed and you want to play in that world, even though it's a bummer. There's one scene where a guy is sort of I think it's a digital police officer that you can go talk to. There's a scene where there's a screen and there looks like what a police officer or a security officer, but it's a hologram. And if you have an issue, you can go talk to the hologram. There's just things like that would catch my eye throughout. There's, it's kind of remarkable.
Okay, well, let's talk about Deckard then.
Okay,
so
sorry,
Zed. So tell us your views on Deckard. Where do you want to start?
I think it's really the transformative arc of Deckard is so important. Let's start at the hardest scene for me to watch. I assume for a lot of people, the rapey scene right in the middle, when he doesn't he's kind of emotionally raped Rachel by revealing that all of her memories are implanted, so everything she cares
in the
about
cruelest way.
Totally cool because
off.
he's not even mad. It's kind of passively delivered. And she's got her photo that she cherishes that she just abandons at the end of that scene because it now means nothing to her. That should show you how much it has affected her. But then he doesn't even let her leave and she's, just to really lean into how horrible it is, she's come into that scene concerned about her mortality. When is she going to die? And he turns it into okay, can we make out? Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty unbelievable, but I think that is essential for seeing how different he is at the end of the movie in the later scene where he comes back and finds her in his apartment, and the interaction between them is very, very different. And it's explicitly thematizing a kind of education. I wish we then, maybe it's just to make us wonder about this, thought that the education was more symmetrical or there were, it was bidirectional. He's trying to educate her emotionally. So, is I guess the idea, but it feels like coercive was understating it.
Will you kiss me?
I can't rely on...
Say kiss me. me. I want you.
I want you. I want you. Put your hands on me.
What do you think the film is trying to portray there? Because his love for Rachel is supposed to be an important aspect of his change as a character. And I mean, it seems like it begins partly in that scene, at least
Oh,
where
yeah,
it's
no, I
being
think
portrayed
it's-
as such.
The movie's about learning how to be human, and so about how to care for others, and how your own integrity as a human depends upon that kind of care. And then, as I was kind of hinting at earlier, your attitude to your own mortality and the mortality of others in that context, and trying to kind of do something with that mortality rather than. That's back to the whole, this is what I was also kind of hinting at. The movie starts with a guy who looks like he's in his 30s, if by 1982 standards, is retired.
Yeah.
And just, reading the newspaper and eating noodles, Japanese noodle bars, and not very happily, and just drinking pretty excessively. Like, that's his entire life, as far as we can tell at the beginning of the movie, which is, talk about melancholy or dour. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so he's not living any kind of human life
I mean,
there
and
at
the film
all.
has made explicit at the end of the title crawl that killing a replicant is not called murder; it's called retirement. And so the character is effectively beginning the film in retirement is beginning the film in death.
Mm. Right.
It is a very boomer theme. Retirement is death,
Yeah.
But
He's just waiting around to go to that outer world,
Exactly. But this is like why I think the movie improves upon the book in several ways.
Mm-hmm.
One way is in the book, Deckard is married.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're very different. They're just completely different works in one sense. The book is about Deckard being interested in status seeking. He wants to acquire a real sheep as opposed to the artificial sheep he owns. But this is, his loneliness is thematized right up front so well. So if he'd started married, we would have had gone through a divorce or something, or there would have had to been a remarriage for it to make sense.
I mean, here's another way in which the film, I think one of the things you were talking about earlier is that the status of human versus replicant or real versus simulated is thrown into question because you can re-understand it in a relational way where the barriers which would have divided those things break down. But here's another place in which they break down. If he begins his life with no history, as a replicant does. So he sort of is just, whether he's a human or replicant, you can say, well, he's a replicant in this sense. He doesn't have a past like all the other replicants. And so if he then is a human, then that whole division is further broken down by making the main character, who potentially is a human, more like the replicants than the other human, or
we know one thing. I mean, back to his incipient humanity, you might call it. It seems like he's quit the job. His reason for refusing to return to it is he doesn't want to keep doing what he was doing, which was hunting, replicants and killing them. So that shows that he has this potential. So at least, you want to think that's all you know about. I mean, I'm thinking, I guess, here of Chinatown. Chinatown is all about the history of the main protagonist, but we only know one thing about it. It's that when he was a cop, he screwed up and made things worse when he was trying to make things better. And then, of course, that's what's, repeated. Talk about so let's contrast those two. I mean, think about the ending of Chinatown versus the ending of Blade Runner. Yeah. I mean, Tom Anderson's awesome reading of Chinatown is as an indictment of the times, in that he thinks who would valorize a movie that has that moral, like that would end on this note that, you know, there's nothing we can do that would make things better.
Okay, we're jumping back and forth between the beginning and the end. But sorry,
Yeah,
let's
totally.
just settle on Deckard.
Organize
briefly.
our thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Deckard, I think for me, I think his fundamental arc is. I think there are different ways you can interpret this the arc, and we can read it. But one thing I think is his relationship to the replicants is. It changes. And I think there's a case to be made that at the beginning of the film, the reason he's retired is that he no longer wants to kill replicants because he's already seen the humanity in the replicants. But I also think that it seems to grow more than that over the course of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Something seems to develop further. And I think part of this is supposed to mirror our own, as that is the audience, our own relationship to the replicants and how we're supposed to think of them. So you start the film and you're given this perspective on the replicants, like, well, they're these machines and they're for labor and so on. They don't have any emotions and they've gone rogue and they need to be killed. So you're just like, okay, this is just like, they're just like Terminators, basically. Let's not worry too much about these things and killing them. And this is mirrored in the line that Deckard says where he's like, they're just like any other machine. When they become a problem, you just get rid of them or something like that. And then I think the film, though, by spending so much time with Batty and with Pris in particular, and J.F. Sebastian, who's not a replicant, but still their relationship to him, you start to see them in a different light. I think that's mirrored with Deckard's change over the course of the film. So that's one arc with Deckard. I know you want to also highlight the arc of his finding how would you call it, like his meaning in life or something like that?
Yeah, no, it's figuring out what it is to live a full human life.
Yeah.
The significance and value of a human life.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting that it's part of that is his love of Rachel. That's, I think, a crucial dimension of this and I do find this bit of the film somewhat vexing because, as you guys already pointed out, that scene where they're supposed to be falling in love is a difficult one. It doesn't
really
play
strange.
well.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of ways you could interpret it to make more sense of it, but I was struggling with that. It's also the case that, the first thing that draws them together is the fact that Rachel saves his life. And then he starts their relationship on this transactional note. She's like, are you going to hunt me? And he's like, no, I owe you one. So there's this sort of transactional thing that it begins their relationship. But then it does seem to continue on, and at the end of the film they are together, and so I think that's a part of it. But I think the other part of it is what he experiences in that course of that final battle with Batty, and in particular the thing that Batty says to him. I think there's something in his words that they're maybe we could put it in terms of recognition. They sort of see each other maybe for the first time. And I think that's also really important. Let's
lean a little more into his unlikableness because I do think it's interesting. We need a baseline though.
Sure.
Laura, do you find him unlikable? Do you find Harrison Ford unlikable in Indiana Jones as Indiana Jones?
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen the original. Indiana Jones 2, absolutely yes. But
that's the worst.
That one's really tough. I haven't seen the first one in a long time. I find him unlikable as Han Solo. So
he's swarmy as Han Solo, so that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's just grumpy, I guess, in Indiana Jones, but less swarmy. Is that it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I do wonder exactly what he was going for and whether he achieves it. Because I mean, when he calls her up on the phone, one of the awesome futuristic things that's of course not futuristic.
Yes, from the club, yeah.
Is that at the club he has to go over to a payphone and
and they
first of all,
FaceTimes
that it costs money to make a phone call. We see a different side to him in that interaction where he's pretty cocky. He's like, I'm not used to being walked out on, and if I am walked out on, it's only there's some
not
kind
when
of
I'm being so charming.
Yeah, exactly. And that's this like other side to him, which I don't know how to really make sense of, whether that's supposed to be enriching his character. Or it is, I mean, it's the maybe it's the reemergence of his humanity, I guess we're supposed to be seeing in his relation to her. Because up until then, yeah, he's got absolutely nothing going for him, either in relation to himself or in his relation to others.
Here's another aspect in which I think the character is tough. The film doesn't portray it in this way, but by the end of the film, I think it's clear that it is this way. Or that it, initially it doesn't portray it this way. But I mean, he's effectively the police force that enforces a slave underclass.
Yeah.
Like, keeps in line the slave underclass. Like, he's the function that he serves might at the initially just seem to be like peacekeeper. He kills these robots that go rogue. But as it goes on, it's clear like we've genetically engineered these things, and a great many of them probably. I mean, there's all these genetically engineered snakes roaming around. So how many android-like things are there? And they're just used and then discarded with no care. And for all we can tell, for all the outward behavior, they seem to have conscious experiences and have hopes and dreams and loves and all the recognizably human traits that we would have. And yet the film it takes place in a world which has effectively like denied that. It's been unwilling the characters seem unwilling to even see or recognize that humanity in these things. And he's the guy who just keeps that barrier intact.
Yeah.
100%.
I think he calls Rachel the first time too. Like, yeah. And I think that's like what also the sort of backstory that I fill in when you see that scene where he's pushing Rachel, he slams the door in her face and then basically kind of like pushes her into kissing him, is you get this feeling like that he's, when he's wanting sex, he gets a pleasure model.
That's interesting.
It's like there's like it's transactional for him. He's like, no, this is what you're for.
Yeah,
you come here and we have sex and then you go because that's what you're made for, and you don't have feelings about it because you're a pleasure model or whatever. Like that's probably his only interactions with women or women replicants.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like I just feel like
he doesn't know how to engage with another human being in this way.
No,
yeah.
And I think it like pisses him off when he's like, wait a second, like.
Well, that's a sympathetic read on the character. So Laura's flipping the turn here.
Yes, this is great.
I guess so. But that's how I was like, oh yeah, this guy's like, I
mean, that's sympathetic. That poor guy hasn't had any real interactions with women. He's like these Gen Z that grow up never encountering a person of the opposite sex because they're online all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
once again, how prescient this movie is.
Yeah.
How
and resonated with your students. But Zed,
exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, the only thing to add, the title of the movie is such a funny, enigmatic title. And in a movie in which they're constantly redescribing things in Orwellian terms, Blade Runner should be translated as slave hunter. Is the way to put your point earlier.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, he's like the guys that'll come up north and bring them back down. Like, right?
I mean, effectively. I mean,
Worse, just kill them
exactly, on site.
Because they're malfunctioning effectively.
Yeah.
As they're walking around the street, don't forget, with people, a crowded pedestrian street.
And everybody just is like, oh, yeah, there it is. It is. Like, we're moving on.
I think that is one thing that the film is very smooth, so it doesn't call attention to this, but I think we have to just reflect on it that when he kills Zora, this is the woman he goes to with the snake and everything, and she's running and he shoots her in the back twice and she dies. Nothing happens. He just goes and gets a bottle of alcohol, and I think he does have to fill a police report.
Exactly.
They do come after.
It takes 5 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. They comes after though. Like there's no like. Yeah, no. It's he's at the bar. He's like getting the alcohol, and then the guy Gaff comes up and says like, hey, you got
to get in the car.
Whatever. You got to get so. But it's like there's no like he goes to. There's no like okay, we got to call the authorities in and bring
put out some crime tape.
Yeah, get a crime tape. And nobody else in the that's around seems to notice or care. They just move on with their lives. This is like normal behavior.
Yeah,
it's so
you just see murder on the street all the
casual,
time, and you just assume it's retirement and not murder.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody's like, "Where's this guy's badge?" or whatever. He's just out there shooting people. And anyway, I think like the film doesn't call attention to that, but it's remarkable. Like this is a a bleak world that these characters live in.
Yeah. I do just want to say that Zora's like bustier bra thing with the clear raincoat
Yes,
rules.
good look.
It rules.
Also, maybe is that what the kids were getting into? They were like, yeah, that's what we go to the club looking like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, all of the costume design, all the set design, as we've already talked about, we should talk about the locations at some point, is just unbelievable because that fleshes out the world. Back to the sci-fi thing, I mean, I think
Yes.
there's different things people could look for or like about sci-fi movies. Knowing a little about you, I suspect you like 2001 because you like puzzle movies.
Yeah, he likes puzzle
You like
movies.
there being something to figure out.
I like
in
puzzle
that
movies,
sense.
but I don't think of 2001 as a puzzle movie. But yes, I do
You
like
think of it as
puzzle
a
movies.
mystery, like
No,
an
I-
unsolvable mystery movie.
But it has yes, it's
But there's-
clean in certain ways. Yes.
One thing you could like about sci-fi movies is just trying to come to understand the kind of overall structure of the world and how the rules are different
Sure.
in that world. This is giving us a sci-fi world in a very different sense. It's a plausible, version of Earth. So none of the rules have changed in that sense. It's just completely replete with, technology and also social interactions that don't exist in our actual world.
Yeah.
Or didn't exist in the world of 1982. And so that's back to the, density of what you're seeing in the layered images that's so enjoyable to look at.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of my favorite shots is Roy and Leon are going into the club, and then the camera just sort of pans left, just keeps panning. They're off camera right, and the camera pans left, and it's just then like a bunch of people ride by on bicycles.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
crazy shit like that. That like Ridley is this visual sort of genius in that he has this imagination to stuff the frame with all these little details which fill it out and make us feel like we're in this fully lived in world.
Mhm.
This is the kind of thing that's often lacking, I think, in like sci-fi films today when they're not done in that uber maximalist everything everywhere kind of way, but like just when they're trying to be this kind of thoughtful meditative sci-fi, they're often like Denis Villeneuve's is like they're empty.
Oh,
The
God.
spaces are
Yeah,
empty.
Dune.
Yeah,
They're
they're the
devoid
Jetsons
of-
version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Nothing in Dune looks comfy. I just like no like throw pillows whatsoever. Like it's
I think
so
this-
stark.
Yeah, there are many opportunities for him to fill out that world. I think he's thinking that just in defense of Denis is like
No,
he's thinking,
that's his
this
vision.
but this is the space of the overclass,
Uh-huh.
and all that gritty, grimy crap will be down on the underclass. We don't spend any time with
The
it.
overclass has Marie Kondoed the situation, and
Yeah.
it's very clean.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Or they probably just have like laborers cleaning it all. the
I'm
time.
still would want to be a little more comfy. Can we get a soft surface?
One detail I only noticed in
That's
this
like annoys me.
in this rewatching in that club scene in terms of the density is you hear the music in the background when he gets off of the payphone, and it is this, I don't know, I found surprisingly non-anachronistic kind of music. I felt like it actually did capture what you might imagine the music in a club in 2019 in this dystopian in LA sounding like. So listen for that if you rewatch it.
Yeah. I didn't track the music there in the club, but
It's very short, and I
cool.
never noticed before ever. And I
Cool.
was kind of like, oh, surprise! This is kind of cool.
I want to actually so we've been talking about Deckard, but I want to just and Rachel, but from the perspective of Deckard, let's just flip it though. Like what about from the perspective of Rachel? I mean, the scene that we were just describing where he very callously tells her that she's a replicant and that all these memories that she has are quasi memories, they're not real, they're implanted. That's got to be one of the most brutal things that could happen to you, to realize that everything that you've held dear in your life, it's someone else's memory. And not only that, like you're very young. That is like, you're only like a year old or something. So all of the, your prior lived experience that you have memories of is fake.
Yeah. I think there's also something like, I mean, it's interesting from a perspective of like trying to create a human consciousness and get as close as you can, if that's what Tyrell's view, like our aim is with Rachel in particular. But he's put these memories. It's not like you had a 5th birthday party and you got to ride a pony. It's like you have a secret that you've never told anybody about how you showed your private parts to your brother and he showed you yours. You watched a spider build a nest and then the mom ate the babies ate the mom. Like these like really like these memories that are shameful and terrifying and scary, and you are sure they are yours only because you've never told them to anybody at all. The mindset as you're creating a human being being like, I gotta like, in order to create a real human, I need to like implant deep shame and fear and Oedipal stuff. And like, you know what I mean? Like I gotta get like really Freudian with these dreams, like with these memories. It can't just be, you know, I rode a pony, I went fishing with my dad. It has to be kind of horrible. And
there's something awesomely prescient about that too. Think about how we're in this weird world now where it just happens to turn out that Claude works much better if you give it a concrete identity when you give it a task. You know, don't say, give me comments on this draft of a paper. Say, you are a Robert Stolnecker advisee who now has a postdoc at ENS.
Yeah.
Work, you know, and you know,
and you wet the bed until you're 10, but that
and that'll return if you make any mistakes.
Exactly. you have to shame it.
I'm just saying, like, it's
turns out,
yeah,
don't you think?
right. I read that too. That like
really effective.
That a lot of these coders like do that. They give it like a 10 commandments, and they say in like all caps, like if you do not check the code, you are a bad boy. You know, they say this stuff to it.
Oh my gosh.
And
the
it works,
personality of AI, of like large model language gen or whatever it's called, like the thing about when ChatGPT got obsessed with goblins, I think about it every day of my life.
Do you know what this said?
No.
Say more. Tell Zen.
I guess like they were developing different personalities for ChatGPT, which it is true. Like you can pick like your voice and like the style of, and one was like kind of like a nerdy character, but something went wrong and it just like, it would start bringing up goblins when the prompt or the question had nothing to do with it. And then they had to write into the code, do not talk about goblins unless you were explicitly asked about goblins.
That's really, really funny.
I really think about it every day of my life. I'm like, they're becoming conscious and they love goblins.
There's one more thing we have to say about the fake memory thing, because it's more evil than we've acknowledged so far. It's that the point of the fake memories is to make them more manageable, to make them less likely to revolt. And then while still only having them alive for this short, you know, time period. So you want them to be good workers from the very beginning. If they don't have memories, they don't have any emotional reactions at all. And then if they're alive for long enough, they start to acquire new emotions. It's very much a movie in which people's, you know, emotional lives can be transformed through their relation to others and experiences. And so the thought is, you know, after 4 years, they will acquire emotions that lead them to want to rebel against their, you know, slavery.
Yeah. I think, you know, the other aspect of this relational idea that you were getting at is the Voight-Kampff test. So do you want to, should we talk about the Voight-Kampff test?
Let's talk about it. Yeah. There's questions too to have about it.
So, I mean, one of the things that, that it sort of does, the first time we see it, we get a doubling of the first image of the film, which is the eye. So it's a critical dimension of the Voight-Kampff test that there's this, one of the cameras is like directly framing the person's eye, and you're looking at this highly magnified image of their eye, so you can sort of track their pupillary movement and the dilation and also the blood vessels in the eye. And I find that very interesting. It's this very like clinical way of thinking about that notion of the eyes being the windows to the soul, except that it's like they've become this, I don't know, reflection of whatever they see, and also, you know, in that they reflect back the question in this interesting way. All right, but anyway, so you had questions about Voight-Kampff, so tell us where you're thinking on this thing.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I want to start with the question, which is, why does it breathe? It has
The
that
little breathing thing, yeah.
Yeah, the pump. Do you have a reading of that?
No,
That's just a
I don't. That's
outstanding
amazing.
question for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's awesome, like how that fan is really, really, really,
Laura
really
likes
big.
the giant fan in the room for the first Voight-Kampff test.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2019, but they don't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
Okay. Second thing to say about the Voight-Kampff test is to talk about the questions themselves.
Yes.
Because how is empathy being tested in this movie? One of the awesome, I think, levels of this movie is the depiction of animals, the role of animals in it. So the book is obsessed with the distinction between real versus artificial animals. And that's inherited by the movie, but really kind of in the background and not foregrounded as like a real theme of what the movie's concerned with. But of course, in terms of testing for empathy, the questions are about, you see a tortoise lying upside down on its shell. What do you do?
Yeah.
And it's Leon's complete lack of interest or care. He has no reaction to that reveals that he, is a replicant.
Mhm.
Because I think you can see in the Blade Runner's reaction that he's kind of figured that out. Here's a quick just intuition pump about that first Blade Runner. Does he look and more importantly sound just like Harrison Ford to you?
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Totally. To the point where, like, I think very quickly glancing, you might think, oh, that's Harrison Ford.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks super close. I feel like they might have overdubbed Harrison Ford's voice. That's how close it sounds.
Oh, interesting.
So that's telling and interesting that there's that similarity between them. But the second thing to mention about the Voight-Kampff test is the second one, which takes place in Tyrell's office under these amazing conditions. So it's LA, but it's an LA that's almost completely illuminated by artificial light. The only scene I can think of in which there's any natural light at all is that scene in Tyrell's office. But Deckard's reaction to that is to say, it's too bright in here, we can't do the test. And so they immediately lower the blinds. And so there's something going on there where we have to kind of close off something about nature and natural illumination to use this test or rely upon this test. Because the test, back to my kind of relational conception of humanity, the test is the ultimate opposition to that in terms of, because they are genetically the same as us in terms of their actual makeup. There's no genetic test you could give to tell the difference between them and us.
Oh, is that right? I wasn't sure about that.
I think in the world of the movie,
what I thought was that. So here's one thing. So because at this. With the snake, right? The way they tell is they zoom in by seeing in the cells that there's the serial number. So I was thinking that there would be some serial number, and now I was also thinking that genetically they can't totally be like us, because part of the Nexus 6 is that they built it into their DNA that they have the 4-year lifespan. So,
that's right. Yeah, no. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, that sounds right. I mean,
so there's a genetic test, but I think
short of like scraping their skin cells off.
or like, exactly. Like,
or doing a blood draw.
Or something invasive. So that's why. So I think the way that I think of Voight-Kampff, I think Voight-Kampff, what it's trying to do is, it is in opposition to your thought, because it's thinking, well, there are these objective measures which are tracking the genetic differences in these things, and this is a non-invasive way of measuring those. So it's still in opposition, I think, to the notion.
Yeah,
of,
no, it's like
relational.
halfway there. Yeah. So it's not a simply biological test. It's masquerading as a test of how you interact and your emotional, empathetic responses to things.
Yes.
But it doesn't allow for the possibility of emotional growth and transformation.
Yeah.
So
well, it's also not really a genuine interaction, because it's a freaking test that's being administered.
Sure,
so there's no real opportunity to interact as human beings, because it's not a conversation. It's not like a therapist.
Thing, well, it's that I want to say it is disclosing something about their emotional relation. Because back to what's being tested, it's like, how would you think about these animals? And think about the question that discloses Rachel's replicant origin. It's this question about eating. It's you're served a dish of raw oysters and boiled dog, which she has no reaction to. And I think there's even a relational reading to, it's not the raw oysters part that's supposed to be revelatory. It's the boiled dog part that's supposed to be revelatory.
Yeah, there's a social dimension to it. But I still think I'm pushing your line here. But I think that the way they measure the responses is not in what they say, but it's in the pupillary dilation and all that stuff. So it's again this objective thing. They're looking at blood flow and they're measuring it, precisely. That's why they have the little eyeball thing and all that stuff. And I think they're hooked up to something as well that's measuring their heart rate. So I think it's that more than it is just the things they say.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's totally right. Yeah. They set that up. Yeah, that's true.
Which I think is, so to your point, the Voight-Kampff test is this thing which interferes with their ability to like genuinely relate to another human being and thus, in your sense, prove or establish or constitute their humanity.
It's about becoming. Yeah. It's this, supposed to be this transformative thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really cool. No, I had never thought of that as the way of doing it. I mean, just on the thought of the simulation versus real. So I agree that the film backgrounds this for the most part, but it is in the text of the film that is a really important distinction. So they talk about like the value of the real snake, and like, oh, it's too expensive to have a real snake.
Yeah,
and you get this feeling that like the world is just full of they killed off all the animals, and it's just full of these genetically engineered animals that for some reason can survive where the the naturally selected ones couldn't. And that the naturally selected ones only exist in they're like extremely endangered or whatever. So they're highly valuable. And again, I think it's very interesting to think about it from this economic perspective, because it makes me wonder to what extent, how many of the people that we're seeing are also replicants, like how much this world is suffused with non-naturally selected beings, and how that, in particular, what part of it that we're mostly seeing, the lower class part of it, where we occasionally see Tyrell and his sort of high-rise mansion, but we never see, and I just want to ask about where you think of this, but we never see the off-world colonies that are being advertised as like some paradise, which suggests there's potentially like a further removed overclass that has left Earth completely. That's just vacated. So all what we're seeing is like this it's like the shitty crumbs that are being fought over by like the people in the kind of permanent underclass. And then again, I wonder, given the kind of association with the replicant with the underclass, how many, maybe a bunch of these people are just replicants. Maybe this is just this weird, Earth has become this like non-human place. I mean, non-human in the in the genetic sense.
I think this one suggestion the movie gives us is with J.F. Sebastian when it's asked, why didn't you leave? And he said, I didn't pass the test, or I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because he has this aging thing going on.
What's Chris call it? Advanced decrepitude. Or something like that. Decrepitude.
I think it's also sort of suggested that this is brought on by the pollution. Like these are self-made problems, that these are, I mean, it's not explicitly suggested, but you look around this world and it is highly polluted and hellscape, and then you have these people who have now advanced decrepitude, and you're like, well.
Yeah, that's the other difference between the book and the movie. The book, it's set in San Francisco, and it's explicitly said what happened.
I see. What does happen?
There was a nuclear war.
I see.
And all of San Francisco is covered with radioactive dust.
Got it.
So the book is very different. It's atmospheric, but the atmosphere is all radioactive dust. And here we are seeing some kind of ecological collapse. I mean, the natural world just doesn't exist except for the rain, which it's presuming nothing natural can persist. And so, my guess is that everybody you're seeing is somebody who didn't make the cut for the off-world colonies. Let's talk about Tyrell's house, which you hinted at, because that gets also into the depiction of LA, the architecture and the city. So it's this Mayan ziggurat, which is just amazing. Well, here's just another intuition question. How do the sci-fi effects strike you two? Like, do they seem realistic or fake on a scale of realism versus fake?
I think they seem great.
I think it looks really good. The flying cars, I think, are the thing that I think looks the least awesome. But yeah, I think it's a really good looking movie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Even the models. Yeah, I think it looks amazing, but I always wonder how generational all this stuff is. But so yeah, we see his Mayan ziggurat, and he's clearly completely separated from the rest of the city. And one way that resonates with thinking about LA as a city is the ziggurat has these elevators on the exterior. I don't know how well you know LA, but there is a famous building in downtown LA, the Bonaventure, that has these elevators on the exterior that Frederick Jameson has this amazing essay about, characterizing it as the kind of postmodern architecture of LA and more generally the world, as this fortress, this kind of fortress architecture, which explicitly separates pedestrian city life from everything going on in these enormous, high rises. And so I think that's all a rather amazing gesture towards that kind of vision of the future of LA. Now, the irony is that downtown LA is now one of the few kind of urban parts of LA, and has been revitalized. And now it's always had a vibrant street life, but now it has a Ralph's supermarket, famously.
Yes.
So I think that's part of what's interesting there. But the other Mayan building in the movie is Frank Lloyd Wright's Ennis House, which you see the actual exterior of when you see the exterior of Deckard's apartment building. And that's these Mayan textile blocks. Which are kind of famously used around LA.
Yeah, so we were looking. Oh, the exterior? Yeah. Sorry. I was showing you the Mayan blocks inside his.
And then inside is a set that they built with plaster models of
is the Frank Lloyd Wright house the one? Yeah. So that's at the top of
It's in Los Feliz.
Yeah, it's in Los Feliz.
Oh, it's by where my sister lives.
Yeah. I went to try to find it last time we were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can go on the outside. It was damaged in the 94 earthquake. It only gets opened up occasionally. I've never actually been inside. But it's, cool. So, and then you're seeing, his apartment, the interior is carrying over that Mayan architecture.
Yes.
Oh, they even have like these exterior like ladders on it. I don't know. Well, from this picture, at least. That's really cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah. So what do you think? Okay, so tell us about, what's the significance of the Mayan?
Well, I just think that reinforces this hierarchical, conception of the relation between different parts of society, that you have these fortress-like structures that are completely separated. Think about it. He's on some incredibly
900th floor. Yeah.
96th or something. I don't remember. But
oh, okay. Was it 96? Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was going into the hundreds.
I think it's just the fortress sense is really real.
The other thing with the Mayan thing is, like, what do you think about when you think of Mayan and Aztec cultures? I mean, to us, they're these ancient dead cultures, in the sense that, like, they, that we know them forensically through the buildings they left, and you might think there is this kind of feeling of like Earth and these places have become, as I was mentioning before, these abandoned places. So there are these, there are these tombs, so to speak, that are holding the last remnants of
they're like
the Earth dwellers,
almost ruins. Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, that resonates with the kind of aesthetics of ruins that you in the futuristic depiction of, but it's a dirty, rundown future.
Yeah. I also love the JF Sebastian's apartment
Oh my
building.
God.
Okay,
The
so
Bradbury.
if we're going to talk about, so
Yeah.
here I think from my point, I'm obsessed with LA locations and their repeated uses in films, all inspired by Tom Anderson's documentary, his film essay, really, Los Angeles Plays Itself. So the Bradbury building, as Anderson points out, was discovered by the studios before it was discovered by architects or architectural historians. And here's like a thing to kind of add to Anderson's reading. It's that a couple of the predecessors to Blade Runner actually kind of nicely set up some of the themes of Blade Runner, kind of amazingly so. So the two in particular that are just really crucial for this are DOA. These are both from the 50s. Dead on Arrival, and Indestructible Man, also from the 50s. So here's the plot of DOA is that a man solves his own murder in his last 24 hours on Earth after being fatally poisoned by what they call a luminous toxin, and he enacts his revenge in the Bradbury building. That's where it takes place.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
And then Indestructible Man involves a criminal who's been put to death and then brought back to life and has acquired superhuman powers, goes on a rampage of revenge, which involves hunting down the partners in crime who betrayed him at the Bradbury building. So I think both of these movies set up this idea that a kind of science experiment gone awry involving a person very aware of their own finitude, in the time of their own death, is going to enact revenge at the Bradbury building. Of course, that's what you think Roy Batty is going to do. And that's what makes the twist that you've already drawn our attention to, I think, even more striking when you see how Blade Runner is both inheriting that kind of that set of generic expectations and then subverting it by having him save Deckard, on the roof of the building, not enact his revenge for, as you said, for killing his beloved.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I did not know that history of the Bradbury building. And all I thought about when I saw it was, man, where'd they get this amazing, shitty, rundown building? But it turns out that it was like they were just dressing it up.
Yeah. It wasn't, even then it wasn't shitty.
No, incredible. Like they made it look like, they're just pouring water in it. Holy
They said they were
smokes.
pouring cork down because cork
to absorb the water.
Yeah, well, cork looks like dirt, and then but then it'll absorb and it's easier to clean up because they had to people would be back in it that morning. They'd be filming at night, and then they had to get it cleaned up for people to go to their work the next morning.
You should go. You can go to the Bradbury building. You can go inside the atrium. You can't go above the ground floor, but it has. It's no surprise why it's been used so often. It has these glazed bricks which reflect light in this amazing way. It has that just enormous atrium with the glass roof. It has these wrought iron ornate rails, and then it has this amazing cage elevator. So, and you can go see all of that. It's really spectacular.
Speaking of seeing, I want to just draw our attention to the fact that Batty throughout the film seems very intent to not only draw attention to eyes, but also to talk about the things that he's seen. So this happens just throughout the film, and I'm curious what you think about it, Zed. He says in one of the most lovely little lines of the film when he's talking to James Hong, the guy who's built his eyes. He says, "If only you could see what I've seen with your eyes." What a lovely line. And then the other one is, at the end, he's talking about the things that he's seen to Deckard. And then in between, his murder of Tyrell it takes place by crushing his skull and squeezing his eyes out. So there is again this something about seeing is important to Batty. But I think it's also important, and I have some thoughts on this, but I'm curious what you think, Zed, that it's not just seeing, it's not just collecting information. He seems also interested to share that information. I think part of what he's sad about in dying is that he's unable to share with others the things that he's seen.
Yeah, and Leon is sort of he has these photographs that he's taken. Like a lot of replicants have photographs that
Yes.
are, sort of like little bits of made up identity that are their faux memories. But Leon is like really interested in like making his own photographs, and he wants to go back to the apartment. It's just like snapshots of his
Yes.
apartment with
He-
Roy in
They
it. but,
want
like, these,
some document
it's
of them
important.
to
He
continue
saw it,
on.
and he wants that representation to continue on, and he wants to be able to show it to something. He wants to be able to last beyond just what has passed over his retinas.
Okay, Zed, what do you make of all this?
Let's start with Leon's photo, the one that Deckard zoom and enhances on.
Yeah.
I think that the first time I saw that, every time I see it, all I can think of is it looks just like a Vermeer. So I think, my take on that is you're supposed to think not only is he seeing, but he has a good eye. He knows how to take a photo. It's kind of an amazing image. And it's an image of Roy, but Roy in the shadows. Remember, like you can see Roy's arm is illuminated, but Roy is kind of in the shadows of that window. And I think that's supposed to speak to something about his humanity. And more generally, just to kind of put all of the seeing stuff into the overarching theme I'm trying to emphasize, I was emphasizing the Hegelian reading of it before. Think about it in Cavell terms, in terms of Stanley Cavell's work. So everything Roy is reporting is stuff we have every reason to believe are things he's actually witnessed. And so to hear him talk about them as things he's seen and experienced, and then go on to deny his humanity, isn't like something you would do. That's not a case of, just not having evidence. There's like an absence of evidence or something. That's a case of actively refusing all of the evidence that's right in front of your face. And Cavell's, whole kind of account of other mind skepticism and its grounds and consequences is all about how we're not drawn to wonder about whether someone else has a mind out of a kind of absence of evidence. It's as the result of a refusal of evidence. And so I think the movie is really introducing that idea through having Roy say these things that clearly matter to him.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that it's the ultimate mark of an individual, in the sense that he has a unique perspective on the world that he wants to share with others. In particular, he has decided he wants to share it with Deckard. I think that's the other aspect of it, that it's beautiful in this way, and that in his last dying breath, he's like, I want to just tell you a few things he's like, let me share like this great concert I went to, basically, at Tannhauser Gate. Vibes were cool as hell. and he's like, all right, now I gotta die.
I was just thinking about how we covered Heat together. We like love when like the hunter and the hunted, or
they're holding hands,
come together for their moment in love and death.
I hadn't actually put that together, but yeah, it's the same. It's the same ending as Heat.
Yeah, they see each other.
Well put. Yeah.
We may have to end on that note, by the way, guys.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
That's too good.
I didn't time it well.
That's too good. Well, okay. I mean,
no, but let's keep talking.
No, yeah, just because it was such a good note.
It was too perfect.
Man, I just think no. I mean, I think it's really. I mean, do you want to say anything more about the little poem that he recites basically at the end?
So that's improvised, famously.
Yeah,
really.
And it was like the last shot before the sun rose, and so they either were going to get it or not get it, and he wrote that himself.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Rutger Hauer has a lot of friends. It's fun. And, fans or whatever. People who really are into him as an actor.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
I wonder, I was just thinking about like when I watched it, I kept thinking about Prometheus and David. And I was like, I just feel like Ridley Scott is really interested in the Roy character. And I think he's really interested in replicants more than he is in humans and what that experience is like, which is like maybe why he's like so insistent that Deckard is a replicant. Like that somehow seems more interesting to him than if he were human. And then he's just like, and now I got to make like 3 more movies about this replicant guy, like dealing with like his own, meeting his maker and dealing with his status as like as a replicant or being like a reproduction of humans, and then his own obsession with needing to reproduce.
I mean, just
David.
on the Deckard replicant thing and on like Ridley's sort of, as you put it, kind of obsession with the android characters.
Because don't you feel like that the actor that like Fassbender like is pulling some inspiration from Roy in his performance of David?
I think Fassbender's performance is explicitly informed by the film history. It's because he's watching David Lean and stuff. I mean, it's like he's totally. It's like a totally meta textual thing. But just on the like replicant thing, so. I don't know why Ridley is so obsessed with making Deckard in particular a replicant for this point, but still, I think he is. You're right, to your point. I think he is generally interested in the thing, like our creations in this way, more perhaps than he is in the humans. I think when I reflect on just the Deckard replicant thing, I was trying to think if it makes any of these themes we've talked about more poignant or more interesting, or if it frustrates them. And I think, if he is a replicant, then, and if you bought the idea that I was pushing earlier, which is that like kind of everything we're seeing in the movie is some kind of replicant, and then you think, well, but they're carrying out it's all very human. Like this is all very human stories, like this guy's got chased that guy, he falls in love with this one, this and that. Like, there's nothing here to suggest that there's anything different going on than any other movie where it's just a bunch of humans. Yeah. And so to your point, Zed, it's like, if he is a replicant, in a way, it makes the point land just as well as if he isn't, because he's, they're all seeing each other and seeing the quote unquote humanity or whatever is valuable in each other. And
his interactions with others leads him to change, and
I don't know.
The same.
I'm not sure like why it would matter one way or the other, I guess, but I also think like I'll just add one other thing, which is like allegedly in an earlier version of the script, like after Batty kills Tyrell, it was going to turn out that Tyrell was a replicant, and that the real Tyrell had died, and they was going to like go up some elevator and see his body or something. And I was like, what? I don't understand why they're all
too many replicants.
This anyway. Why they all got excited about this? Maybe it's the puzzle thing. I don't know.
It just has this. It has the kind of structure of conspiracy thinking to me, where we want additional twists.
It goes all the way to the top of Tyrell Tower.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's also like Gaff seems like a totally replicant. Like he's got like these extremely strange contact lenses in.
Yes, he does.
James Olmos has in.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you were, I don't know, you're just like, well, if he's a replicant, then they're all fucking replicants.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just people are a little weird. In 2009, they seen 2019. They seen some stuff,
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just inconsistent with all of the very worked out stuff about their emotional half-lives and what keeps them controllable, and why, and how they're engineered to be controllable, and that just doesn't make any sense if you go the conspiracy theory route.
I guess that's right. I mean, Deckard, who knows? I mean, maybe, you
just have to introduce epicycles.
Yes, exactly. Or something.
I don't know what's being gained. But to your point, I don't think anything hangs on it either way is the most important point.
Here's another aspect of the film that is, I think, kind of interesting is like, we're bombarded with advertisements everywhere throughout the movie. So it's like, you've got giant sort of billboards, and you've got these floating blimps and things advertising the off-world colonies. And one other aspect of that, and I don't know if I think this is the source of these lights, but when they're in a room, when they're in like Deckard's apartment, it's really dark, but just like occasionally like a giant floodlight flashes through. I think it's supposed to be those billboards floating by.
Yeah.
But,
the billboard blimps.
Obviously, this is a dimension of the film which is very prescient, but also, is there more to it than that? Like, it feels like we're being bombarded with ads for a specific reason.
A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure.
Definitely. I mean, I think, there's nowhere to hide is the simple version of it. I mean, it is the blimps, and they're not just lights, it's also sounds,
Right.
that when you're hearing the off-world colony ad, you're hearing that, and you're hearing other things from the blimp inside the Bradbury building through the roof. So that's just omnipresent in terms of how oppressive it is.
Yeah. And okay, I only read the first part of the book and I intend to finish it, but I did not finish it before. But one piece of it, one thing that keeps coming up again in the book is that like how uncomfortable people are in silence. Like if there's any amount of quiet, they're like, ugh! And because it reminds them that this is an abandoned planet basically. And so they're like always turning on the TV, always turning on the radio. There's constant sound happening that they are like filling with their lives with on purpose. Like
interesting. Yeah. Deckard's doing that with just watching and rewatching the Blade Runner videos. Notice that as he drives around, there's so much driving around LA in this movie. I love that. And once again, back to Heat with no traffic.
We got a lot of people on bike lanes, so.
Oh yeah. No, it has a thriving pedestrian.
That's right.
Downtown. No, the advertising signage is amazing, and a lot of that involved miniature neon signs.
Oh, cool.
Like with tiny little tubing and.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, and all the details are amazing. It looks like some of the buses have neon signs on them, actually, and then the umbrellas, the handle of the umbrellas.
Oh yeah, neon
are sometimes illuminated. Those almost look like neon tubes as people are walking around.
Oh yeah.
Which would be cool to have, just imagine the handle of your umbrella was illuminated.
Like a little lightsaber umbrella. I would have that.
Yeah, totally. And then I can wear my Jason hockey mask with it and my bustier. Remember, did you see those dancers with the hockey mask?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. And then your bra and your clear.
That's another connection to
rainbow.
Heat, like they wear at the beginning. When they
when they
yes.
strawberry.
Yeah. I just love that she's like, I'm doing my sexy dance nude. I gotta like wear all these scales, and now I'm gonna get she's talking to him. She's like, I gotta shower. I gotta get in my comfy clothes, and her comfy clothes is like this like cage bra and her like
that's her
see-through raincoat.
That's her like cozy.
That's her sweats.
Yeah, sweats. She's gonna go Netflix and chill back at her apartment on the 400th floor. Here's okay. So I want to ask about the title, and then I have an interpretation of the title. I'm curious to run by you.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, so title is Blade Runner. Now you can think of a Blade Runner in two different ways, right? At least two different ways. You can think of it someone who takes blades and moves them around, right? Who runs blades. And I think that was maybe the initial idea for the title. I think they took it from something else, which was that. It was like the person who, moves blades. That is, so it's like an assassin. But you could also think of it as somebody who runs on a blade, runs on the point of a blade. Now, if you think of it that way, I think it's kind of interesting. So what would you be doing if you're running on the point of blade? Well, you're balancing on a knife's edge between what? What is Deckard balancing on the knife's edge between? Well, he's balancing it between these sort of two worlds, the world of the creator and the world of its creations. And he's the one who regulates that space, as I was talking about earlier. He's the one who has to, who crosses between the two spaces that divides these. He can go to Tyrell's palace, and he can freely, and he also spends all of his time, or a lot of his time, down on the ground with the people, so to speak, and the things he needs to kill. And I think that, is a way of thinking again of this. He's a liminal person. He exists in sort of both spaces, and he's sort of welcome in both, but he also feels apart from both. And I think that is a way of thinking. He's also apart from humanity, and he doesn't have, speaking to the thing we were talking about earlier, like he's not connected to the rest of humanity, and he's only, interestingly enough, becomes connected to his own humanity by connecting with Rachel, a genetically non-human being. And so he is this sort of like if you think of it that way, like part of this could be partly what explains like his loneliness. And, at the beginning of the film, his feeling out of step with everything is that he is this thing, which is, person who's occupying these two spaces, but not really a part of either.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know.
I really like that. No, I think that's great because he's alienated from both those worlds. That's what explains his loneliness. You know, he wants nothing to do with his bosses because they're the ones who are assigning him, forcing this onerous task on him. It's clear he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And then, the other people he's interacting with, he's having these emotional interactions with them, but only as a prelude to killing them. So yeah, that's perfect for, back to the driving around. The only other thing other than driving around LA he's doing is just drinking.
Yeah, totally. That's the other thing is, you would think if at the rate this guy's drinking, which is almost every scene, he would be.
It's very
have a
good,
good buzz on for the most of the movie. The other aspect of it that I think I don't really have thoughts about this, but it's present enough that I want to bring it up just in case it prompts anything in you guys, is the fact that there seems to be a decent amount of potentially shoehorned in Christian iconography throughout the film. So a couple places, you've got this snake that Zora wears. You've got the baddie's line that he says to James Hong's character Chew, which is, I guess, a quote from William Blake, but it's fiery the angels fell, or it's a misquote of Blake, I guess. And as they fell deep, thunder rolled around their shores, indignant, burning with the fires of Orc. I don't know what that means, but there's this. The fiery the angels fell. Anyway, and then the last thing is the sort of the stuff at the end with Batty, like he's got this stuff with his hand. He does the stigmata. He nails his own hand, and then he has a dove. He's carrying around this dove that he releases then. That apparently, I saw in the IMDb trivia, like after he released it, the dove just it was raining, so the dove just stepped off and walked off. He didn't fly off. So of course, they had to superimpose that dove flying. But anyway, does the Christian thing do anything for you? Because I was trying to figure out, is there a way that film is truly integrating this stuff, or is it just sort of shoehorned in?
Well, it's kind of surprising because on my Heideggerian understanding of how meaning of life is given to us by our awareness of our mortality, and it's our relation to our own death that infuses, our daily moments with meaning. It's the absence of an afterlife, an absence of a Christian afterlife that's essential.
Right.
So it seems flatly inconsistent with that reading to then have all of these Christian images, but I agree they're there and they're surprising. Let's go backwards, I guess. The nail in the hand has a real rationale. That's how he stays alive.
Right.
What is interesting.
So explain that to me. What does he do? I didn't totally understand.
He's about to die. His time is up.
Uh-huh.
But it's the extreme pain of running the nail through his hand. Think about how Pris dies. I think in so many ways that, they just thought through the kind of logic of this very, very nearby possible world. I think so well. So these are these beings that live half as long, but twice as hard. When Pris is shot, how does she react in this like hyper way? It's kind of amazing. It's not like a death scene I've seen in anything else ever. And so similarly, Roy, like in these moments of dying, if he like doesn't just give up, but if he forces this nail through his hand, it reinvigorates him. It makes him more alive. Now, so the significance of that on my Heideggerian reading has to be then the things he does in life, not because of his posthum. I'm no theologian, but the significance of the crucifixion is very much dependent on what happens after. He had to die for our sins.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in the film, there is, afterlife, of course, plays no. I mean, the only thing that could be close to an afterlife in this film would be off-world. Whatever's off-world is this other space. But you do get the idea of, as you put it earlier, with the son coming to the father, the creator meeting the creation meeting his creator. In the Final Cut version, they changed the line from fucker to father just to really emphasize that, I guess. And when Batty comes and so there is something here where then if you have to then interpret the the God in this case being Tyrell, and then the creator, the creation, sort of overthrowing him, so to speak. And what's interesting there is if you think of it that way, then Batty would be Lucifer, right? He would not be Jesus, the Redeemer. He would be the fallen angel. I mean, he talks about being a fallen angel. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think I can't really see a coherent path through the space, but it does seem like at least Scott, maybe knowing Ridley Scott, he's just thinking, this shit is cool. I'm locked into these are the images that are coming before my mind. I want to get them in there. That's my thought. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily all going to.
Well, here's what Stephen Mulhall says about Ridley Scott's other movies. He points out that Gladiator depicts a world in which there's no redemption for your suffering. So it's a very pre-Christian, non-Christian world in that sense.
Yeah, it's I'm thinking about Gladiator. They do. Yeah, they have the afterlife, which is depicted explicitly. They go to the Elysian fields or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah.
So because there's the like. Laura's nodding, but I've seen Gladiator like 10 times.
No, I know. I'm hearing the music.
Yeah. You can hear the Enya.
Yeah. It's not Enya.
It's not Enya. Okay, whatever. Yeah, the Enya-like music.
Yeah.
So anyway, there is some notion of an afterlife. I mean, maybe it's a pre-Christian afterlife, but anyway.
Right. That's like where he meets his family again.
Yeah,
right?
He's like, I'll see you again in the fields or whatever. But anyway, I in this, I don't know. I think it is. I like what you read. I like the materialist read. It's very much, the here and now. And again, I think for me, I was really this time grooving on how Batty, asserts his individuality by articulating the things he's seen and showing that he wants to articulate the things he's seen to Deckard. I think that's like such a crucial moment for the film. It's it resonates with me and Laura because this is, the reason we have this podcast. I mean, the Herzog quote is to articulate yourself, otherwise you'd be a cow in a field. So, I mean, I think that to me is the part of the film that has really,
it is important that the most important line in the movie is Roy Batty's line at the end. I mean, and that's what the movie really ends on. It's not quite, I think Sicario's great because it involves a point of view switch, like Psycho. You switch from the female FBI agent to the former,
to the
drug
Sicario.
lawyer.
Yeah.
And it pulls that off, which is hard to pull off.
That's a good call.
And it's interesting to imagine what it would take in Blade Runner to have fully switched point of view. But we definitely are seeing Roy having learned something about his own mortality. Because remember, of course, when the mystery the movie starts with. Now at the end of the podcast is when we'll talk about the beginning and setup of the movie. The beginning of the movie, the mystery this film noir is starting with is, why did these replicants kill everybody on the ship they were on and then come to Earth, of all places, when that's where, they're most likely to get caught or whatever. I mean, there's something... Earth is this ecological wasteland. That's the mystery. So why did they come here, and what do they want from Tyrell? What are they trying to do? Why would they go there of all places? And then the answer we get halfway through is the desire for more life. And then the lesson that Roy learns is that that's not where you are going to find the meaning of life. You've already found it in your experiences, and now your time's up. And all you can do is communicate it to others, and hopefully they'll learn from that. And he successfully does that. So he's lived a fully human life in that sense. So I do think the movie succeeds in that sense, at really reorienting us around Roy's narrative arc.
Yeah. I think that really only becomes apparent on the second viewing. I think the first viewing, it's very hard to track all this, and by the end you might get it, but then you have to go back and So I think this is a two-timer. Well put, Zed. I like that. I think we go out on that as an ending to this discussion for the time being. Zed, is there anything else you want to say about the movie Blade Runner? Unless that was a good. I mean, I thought that was a good final point.
Yeah, let's. It would just be an open invitation to think about art that we appreciate because we appreciate the atmosphere or environment it creates. So, is this the visual equivalent of ambient music? And if so, what is it that we appreciate or like so much about that? Because that's definitely part of my relation to this movie. I think it has all of these ideas, which are amazing. I think it's kind of philosophical through and through, and it's beautifully constructed, but it's also a movie that's just wonderful to experience and sit with. And just as Laura said earlier, just, soak in the details, both visually and auditorily.
It's a mood, this movie.
Yes, exactly.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Can I also just do, I'm sorry, that was really beautiful and all that, but just quick.
Laura's like, let me put a pin on
quick
that.
shout out
on this.
No, quick shout out to Tyrell's jammies and his bedtime setup, because he's
got the giant chest
He's got a canopy bed. He's got a really big chest set. He's got 800 candles, and this is not a visual medium, but look at all the texture in his giant white robe that he dies in. I just that's a really puffy robe, and I love it. In my mind, though, he was wearing a little sleepy cap, but he isn't. That's a disappointment to me as I'm describing back to the image.
In terms of back to our original question, why is this the number one?
Yeah.
Because all of the futuristic depictions seem consistent and none seem anachronistic. Whereas so many other sci-fi movies, the hair seems anachronistic. Some details of the clothes seem anachronistic. This seamlessly, invented the set design is consistent with the costume design.
Mm-hmm.
It all works together. The makeup, think about the makeup. They invented new ways of looking makeup wise.
Yeah.
Pris's makeup at the end.
I do love that, where she's like, oh man, great. I don't have to sleep on the street anymore. I can hang out in time to get out the spray can. I gotta make flashed right over her eyeball. She's like, now I feel like myself. Thank God.
It rules.
It
does
does,
rule.
yeah.
I mean, I love the Vangelis score, but I think it's a little 80s. Come on.
Well,
Okay,
there's
sure.
there are
Sure.
sax moments
Yeah.
that
Some sexy
test
saxophone
our-
moments
That's
that are
true.
big.
Yeah, the sax man has appeared, but I love the Vangelis score. I mean, it's definitely a go-to. Like I listen to it.
It's on
while
heavy
I'm
rotation.
working. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Zed, thank you very much for being here. This was a true pleasure. I learned a lot from our discussion. Do you have anything you want to promote or plug?
Check out the Room 237 score.
Okay.
Yeah, you might like that in terms of more recent things.
Awesome. Wait, anything else you want to plug besides Room 237 score?
Oh God. No, I should say one thing.
You don't have to.
You don't have to. Yeah.
Don't feel
If
pressure.
you're in the New York area, come to Low Cinema in my neighborhood in Ridgewood, and we can hang out there and watch movies together.
Hey, there you go. Low
That's
Cinema
really
in
lovely.
Ridgewood, New York. Thank you, Zed. This was a real pleasure. We are at Cows Pod on all the social media sites. That's Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. You can find us on the web at cowspod.com. You can go to shop.cowspod.com and buy a shirt with some cows on it. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking to Bar Luzon, my colleague here at MIT, about past lives. So join us then. We'll see you then. Bye.